everybody, welcome back to Crochet by Landry. So in this video, this is going to be the last installment of our calendar blanket this year, and then we'll take a check-in at the beginning of December to make sure we have all our pieces and whatnot. But the pieces we're making today are the reindeer and the gingerbread man. Now, there are some of the ornaments you have to make twice, like the gingerbread man and the reindeer. So today, instead of making just one, make two of each. That way, you've doubled your numbers in ornaments for your blanket. And there are some other ones that you have to make doubles of. And those ones are Santa, the candy cane, the snowflake, the snowman, the wreath, and a couple, I think one or two other ones. And I'll leave a list in the description box down below of the ones you have to make doubles of. So that way you can go back to the video and just watch it again and make the two doubles that you need to make. So you have your total of 24 ornaments for the beginning of December when we start using our calendar blankets, counting down to Christmas. So grab your Caron Simply Soft yarn, your 5mm hook, yarn and scissors, and let's get started to make our gingerbread man and our reindeer. All right, so let's get started making the last two ornaments for our calendar blanket this year. And those ones are going to be the reindeer and the gingerbread man. So let's start with our reindeer. And what you're going to need is your 5mm hook that we've been using, some scissors, a yarn needle for weaving in ends, and the colors you're going to need are brown for the reindeer, the bone color, and then the red, and they're all going to be in the brand Caron Simply Soft. Once you've got all of your supplies, and if you're going to follow along with me using the pattern, go to yarnspirations.com. I'll put the link in the description box down below. And if you haven't been following along, but you want to kind of do this for your family, the link to all the videos will be in the description box. So then you can just go back and start from the beginning. But let's get started making our reindeer and our gingerbread man. Okay, so let's get started with the reindeer. So we're going to start with his nose and his snout. So with the brown yarn, or chocolate as the color is called, you're going to start with a slip knot and chain 2 to begin. So 1 and 2. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put 8 single crochets in that second chain from your hook. So you're just going to put 8 in there, and that's going to get us started. That was 1, 2, 3, 4. Oopsie. Try not to split your yarn. 5, 6, 7, and last one, 8. And now what you're going to do is that first single crochet that you made, you're just going to join with a slip stitch to that first one. Trying not to, there we go. Join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet. And once you've done a slip stitch into that first single crochet you made, you should have something that looks like this. And with that little extra tail that you see, it won't be, I'm just going to trim it just to kind of keep it out of my way, because that made it too long. But it'll work its way into our project as we're going along, so don't worry about it right now. So starting round 2, you're going to chain 1. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and that's the stitch where you joined your slip with your slip stitch. So you're just going to try to wiggle your hook back in there and make 1 single crochet. And then you're going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch until you get back to the beginning. So you should still have 8. When you hit the end, you should still have 8 stitches remaining. Make sure you're counting so you don't have to go back and count every time. But if you are going to count your stitches, you can always start from where your hook is and just count backwards until you've reached the number you need. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'm at 8, and I'm just going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet that I made. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to repeat round 2 more times, and that makes a total of 3 times that you're going to do this. So just do it 2 more times, and once you've done it 2 more times, I will meet back with you and we will move on to the head. So once you've done that 2 more times, your piece should look something like this. So now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1 again after your slip stitch for joining the round. And now what you're going to do is you're going to put 2 single crochets in that first stitch. Okay. And now what you're going to do is you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around, going from 8 to 16. And once you've done that, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet, and I will meet you there and we'll move on to the next part together. So once you've done that, your piece is starting to take shape. Now what you're going to do is for round 2 of the head, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch, starting with that one where you joined, and then just do 1 in each around. And like before, you're going to do it a total of 3 times. Once you've done it, once you've gone around 3 times, and don't forget to join with a slip stitch after each round, I'll meet up with you and we will move on to the next and last round of the head. Okay, so after you've done those 3 rounds, your head should start looking something like this. So now what we're going to do for the next round is we are going to start to decrease. So we're going to chain 1 to begin. And what we're going to do is we're going to just do single crochet 2 together 8 times to fasten off. So that just means you put your hook in to the first stitch where you joined, pull up a loop, put it in the next stitch, pull up a loop. So you should have 3 on your hook. Then you yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So you basically turn those 2 stitches into 1 stitch. So now what you're going to do is you're going to do it again. So pull up a loop, pull up a loop, and all together. So that would be, that's 2. So let's do it 8 times. So this is 3. And then this is 4. Let's keep going until we reach the end. Should do it a total of 8 times. So we're going from 16 stitches to 8 stitches. And I got 1 more here. There we go. And then just join with a slip stitch to that first decrease you did. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to fasten off. And I just like to chain 1 to fasten off. And then I'm going to trim my yarn. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail so I can sew it closed. Doesn't have to be too long. Long enough so you can sew the top of the hole closed. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to just lightly stuff it. I'm just going to add a little bit of polyester fiber fill, and it just looks something like this. Kind of looks like it's toy stuffing. So I'm just going to add a little bit because it's not very big. So I'm just going to try to push it in here. And you can add as you need. You can add a little bit more here. I want it to be nice and stuffed so it doesn't look flat. There we go. Okay, and then you're going to take your yarn needle and you're going to pull this hole closed. So the way I like to do it is I'm going to grab, instead of grabbing both stitches, I usually just grab the outside loop. So that's all I ever do. So it's just this loop on the outside, and then I'm just going to cross over and grab the other one and pull it through. So I'm kind of creating kind of like a little drawstring. So that way when you go to pull, the hole will close nice and tight and your stuffing won't escape. There we go. And then we should be able to just kind of pull. As you can see, it makes it very nice and pulls it very pulls it nice and tight for you. Don't pull too hard, because if you pull too hard, you could snap your yarn. Trust me, I've done it a few times. And then just take your tail and just weave it back and forth around the hole, just to make sure it is going to stay closed. And that way you're also weaving in your tail at the same time. But the next piece we're going to do is we're going to grab our red and we're going to work on his nose. So grab your red yarn and let's get started working on his nose. All right, so grab your red and we're going to start working on his nose. So we're going to start off with a slip knot and chain 2, just like we did for our reindeer head. So 1, 2, and then we're going to put 6 single crochets in that second chain from the hook. So it's 1, 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5, one more makes 6, and then you're just going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet that you made. Go, and then you're just going to chain 1 to fasten off. Trim your yarn, leave a little bit of a tail because you're going to have to sew it on, and that is your reindeer nose for your friend here. And we're probably just going to sew it onto the front, but I'll leave that for the end and we can work on the rest of the pieces. So let's grab our chocolate again because we're going to make his ears. So we're going to make a slip knot to begin. And we're going to chain 4 this time. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then what we're going to do is slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. And then what we're going to do is 1 single crochet in the next chain. Okay, and then a slip stitch in the last one. Okay, and then just fasten off and trim your yarn. Leave a little bit of a tail for sewing. And you're going to make 2 of those. So let's make the second one while we're here. So remember to chain 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Slip stitch in the second chain. Single crochet in the next. And then slip stitch in the last. And fasten off. So there are his nose and his ears. Now let's grab our bone color for his antlers. So now we're going to do the antlers. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your bone color. You're going to make a slip knot. And chain 5 to begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way down, and you should be left with 4 by the end. So that's 2, that's 3, and 4. And then no chaining required, so just turn your work. You're going to work on the back side now, and you're just going to slip stitch in the first 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to chain 2. So 1, 2, and then just slip stitch back into that same space we just came out of. And that is your antler. So then you can trim your yarn. Okay. And then it's ready to be sewn on your project. So you're going to make 2 of those, 1 for each side of your reindeer. Okay. And now we're going to grab everything that we just made and get ready to sew it on. But before we do that, let's make the loop that goes on top of our reindeer so we can hang it off of our blanket. And you're going to chain 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then just again, fasten off. And then that's ready to be sewn on our project as well. So grab all your reindeer parts and let's start sewing it on to our reindeer. All right, I've already sewn on half of some of them already. I put our loop on in 1 ear and 1 antler. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put on the last little pieces of our reindeer before we move on to our gingerbread man. I'm just gonna make this tail that's up here go down here where it's supposed to be. Okay. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put it in through anywhere where I want my antler to be, which is right next to the loop. So the loop should be in the middle on the top of your reindeer's head. And then the antlers should be on either side of the reindeer or of the loop. So I'm just gonna do my best to aim for the middle as close as I can get. And then I'm gonna do this one, and I'm gonna make this tail come out. Both tails come out in the same location, so then I can just pull. And then I'm going to double knot it. I'm going to cut my tails short. And then I'm going to stuff this inside, just with the bottom of with one side of my needle. We're going to do the same thing for the ear. So again, it should be lined up with your antler. And I'm going to make it come out somewhere on the reindeer. Both tails, I'm going to try and make sure they come out in the same spot. Just going to do my best to get it on the same spot as I can, because then I can just double knot. Trim my tails. Okay, and then I'm just going to stuff these ends. I'm just going to use the tip of my scissors here. If you're doing that, just be careful not to poke a hole in your project. Okay, and then that's that. And now let's sew on his nose. So it's a reindeer without a red nose. Now the nose should probably go somewhere on the tip of your project. And I'm just going to stick one of my loose tails through, because when I'm done sewing, that's what I'm going to do with the other one, and make it come out on the other side. Now to sew this part on, I'm just going to kind of go in and out of stitches as best I can. I'm going to go in through the brown part and come out of the red part. But I'm going to try and get as close to the red part as I can. I know this is a little tricky because our project is small, but it'll be worth it when it's finished. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that tail that I just finished and I'm going to make it come out the same place as the other one. And this kind of acts as an anchor for your projects so that it's just an extra piece of security so your piece that you're sewing on doesn't really go anywhere. It works really well with most stuffed projects that you may do. And I do it a lot when I make plushies. So we're just gonna carefully stuff these red ends in. There we go. And with some black yarn, if you want, you can add some eyes to your reindeer. But other than that, he is finished. So let's move on to our gingerbread man. Okay, so let's get started making the gingerbread man, which should look something like this when we're done. And we're gonna make not one of them, but two. But first, and I'll talk about it at the end of the video, there is supposed to be 24 ornaments. Now, if you noticed, we've only done one of each ornament thus far. So your job between now and the first week of December is to make an additional ornament for certain ornaments in the pattern. Now, make a second wreath, a second snowman, and a second Santa. Make a second snowflake, a second candy cane, and another reindeer. And then once you've made your two gingerbread men, you should have a total of 24 ornaments on your Christmas advent blanket. I'll leave a list in the description box of which ornaments you should make doubles of. And there's nothing stopping you from making doubles of the other ones as well. It's up to you. But those are the ones that you should make doubles of to make your ornament count up to 24. But let's move on and make our gingerbread man. So you're going to need that chocolate brown yarn again. And you're going to start with a slip knot. It's all right, I'm fumbling over myself here. There we go. Start with a slip knot and your 5mm hook. And you're going to chain 3 to begin. So 1, 2, 3. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put 10 half double crochets in the third chain from the hook. So you're just going to yarn over, find that third chain, and you're going to pull up a loop to make it 3 loops, and then pull through all 3 of those loops. And you're going to do that in a total of 10 times. That was 1. This is 2. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And now what you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch into that first half double crochet that you made. And once you've done that, we'll come back and continue the rest of our gingerbread man. Okay. So once you've got your ring of 10 half double crochets, what you want to do is you want to just chain 1 to fasten off. I'm just going to trim the yarn, because now we're going to do is make the arms. But before I do that, I'm going to weave in these ends just so I'm not getting confused or they're not in my way. Makes things a little easier, and weaving in as you go sometimes is a bit neater, and as you're creating your piece, you're not getting all confused on what strands you're supposed to be using. And so I'm just going to get these out of the way. There. So you should have a little circle like that. And now let's start with the arms. So we're going to chain 4 to get started. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look at your circle on the back side of it, and you're going to slip stitch anywhere on the circle, doesn't matter where, but you're just going to do you're going to attach your arm with a slip stitch. Okay, and then do another slip stitch next to it, and then you're going to chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now what you're going to do is you're going to turn your work and look on the back side of it, and you're going to put 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Okay, and then 1 single crochet in the next 3. So that's 1. That's 2. And then 3. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put 2 single crochets in the stitches where you used for slip stitch. So that's 1, and then that's 2, and then just keep going. Single crochet in that chain 4 that you did all the way to the end. And you should be left with 10 single crochets by the time you get to the end. Okay. So you should have 10 stitches by the end of that row. Now what you're going to do is you're going to turn your work, chain 1, and you're going to put just 1 single crochet in each stitch across. And you probably count to make sure you have 10. If you have less or more, then I'd say go back and just make sure that you have 10 stitches, because this will be important later when you're adding in the body and the legs. So just go all the way across. And when I'm done this row, I'm going to fasten off, cut my yarn, and then we can start making the body and the legs of our gingerbread man. So I'm just going to chain 1 to fasten off, trim my yarn. I'm going to take a second and weave in these tails so they're not in my way, so I can concentrate on what stitches I need to be using and what what strand I'm actually working with. Makes it a little easier for me, plus less to do later. All right, so now we're gonna start working on the torso. So what you wanna do is get a slip knot ready on your hook, like I have, and you're gonna skip the first 3 stitches, as we have the arms here. So we're gonna skip the first 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and in that 4th stitch you're going to join your yarn with a slip stitch. Okay, and I'm just going to actually work over this tail that's right here. Happy accident. Then you're going to chain 1 and single crochet back in that same place, and that counts as 1 stitch. And now we're going to single crochet in the next 3. So that'll be a total of 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then counting that first one we did is 4. And I'm actually just going to quickly snip this yarn here. There we go. Add it to my pile. And now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and what you're going to do is you're going to do row 2, which is 1 single crochet in each. Again, you should have a total of 4 stitches for the torso portion. Okay. And then what you want to do now is just chain 1 and turn. You're going to repeat row 2 2 more times for a total of 3. And once you've done that, we will move on, and do not fasten off your yarn because we're going to do one of the legs. So we're going to start working on the first leg. So chain 1, turn your work, and you're going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, and leave those 2 stitches unworked because we are going to be coming back to them later. So then what you want to do is chain 1, turn your work, and you're going to put 2 single crochets in one in each stitch. So staying at 2, you're going to do row 2, and you're going to do it a total of 3 times. So you should have 3 extra rows. So chain 1, we did 1, so this is our second time, and then chain 1 again, and for the last time, there we go. That's one of the legs of our gingerbread man, as you can see. And now what we're going to do is this part we are going to fasten off, trim our yarn. Okay, and then you're going to actually get a slip knot. Okay. And you're going to actually work into that one of those unworked single crochets that we didn't touch from before. Do a slip stitch to join. Chain 1 and single crochet into that same place because you want it to count as a stitch. And then single crochet in the next stitch. Okay. So then what you're going to do now is you're just going to chain 1 and repeat what you just did. So that way both legs are the same length. I mean, unless you want a lopsided gingerbread man, totally up to you. But we're going to make them both the same size. There we go. And then snip your yarn, fasten off. Okay, and then take a second and weave your ends in. It'll be a lot easier if you weave all of your ends in, so that when we go to do the icing on our gingerbread man. I'm just going to take a second. I'm going to weave all my loose ends in so that way I have nothing in my way when I go to add the icing. Because what's a gingerbread man without a little bit of sugar on top? There we go. You can put that brown yarn aside for now. We're going to need it in a minute to make the loop to hang our gingerbread man off of our blanket. But grab your white and make a slip knot. And then what you're going to do now is you're going to do a slip stitch. Basically, you're going to slip stitch all around the outside edges of your gingerbread man. So what you want to do now is you want to just join anywhere. I'm just going to join at the top of his head. And I'm just going to join with a slip stitch. And I'm going to try and work over this as best I can. And then I'm going to just keep going, and I'm just going to keep slip stitching all around the edges of the gingerbread guy. So it doesn't look like much yet, but as you do more slip stitches, it will. You'll start noticing that it kind of looks like it's going on the face of your gingerbread versus on the outside. So all you're doing is just slip stitching, and then when you hit the arms, just push your hook in anywhere Just doing your best to make sure it looks as even as possible. So that's what it should look like. So keep going until you get back to where you started, and I'll meet you there. And there we have it. I even did the loop, and you just need to chain 9 and attach it, which is like what we've been doing. But there we have it, 2 gingerbread men and a reindeer. And that's it for today, everybody. We made the gingerbread man and the reindeer. And again, don't forget to go back and make doubles of those ornaments that I mentioned in the beginning. That way you have your 24 ornaments for the beginning of December. Other than that, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell. And I'll see you next week for more crochet fun. I do have a market on Saturday this week, so I'll maybe take you with me, take a few pictures, and let you know how it went next week. But bye, everybody.